Welcome to Asian American Life. I'm Ernabelle DeMillo. This month, we're highlighting Asian American creatives who are reshaping the arts and cultural landscape. Plus, I take my students to the ultimate field trip to South Korea. But first, let's take a look at this amazing exhibit inside the Korea Society in Manhattan. Here is In the Manner of Magnificence. Driven by his artistic motivation to transform conventional Korean art, Cho In-ho uses ink to break free from traditional imagery by adding elements of nature in all his landscapes. By adding small details like tiny life forms, he allows viewers to appreciate all the multiple layers within his art pieces. Ho's calligraphy helps him center his mind and maintain his inner balance. He uses his art to encourage viewers to explore the deeper meanings under the beautiful aesthetics of nature and space, meanings of liberation and freedom within nature. Next up on Asian American Life, Cambodian Angkor Dance Troupe preserves their history and culture, plus the Korean art of self-care. Move over book clubs, cooking clubs are the hottest trend with friends. And the smell of sweet success. This pastry chef's mirrored glazed cakes are edible works of art. This and more on Asian American Life. Experiencing a different culture firsthand can lead to a deeper understanding of the world. That's why study abroad programs are popular with college students. And that's why I brought my students to South Korea last year. Police officers Ho Sung-chu and Jongin Chan decided to go back to school.
I always wanted to live somewhere else, especially United States. And then that is the good opportunity to have. I can just study here, and I also mingle with the student here.
They are part of the most recent cohort of police officers from Korea taking part in a global leadership program started by this man.
That we can have some sort of, the explanation of what they are doing as a police officer in South Korea.
Meet Dr. Hyoungah Park, a criminal justice professor at St. Peter's University.
It is the government supported the program, and the police officers in South Korea, they want to know the global kind of perspectives and what they can do in the Interpol or any, the cooperation with the other countries. So as I worked as the Korean National Police, so I proposed this program.
Park worked for almost 3 decades as a Korean national police officer, rising from lieutenant to deputy inspector. He also worked at the Blue House, the Korean White House. Today, he's a criminal justice professor with a mission to build bridges between his native country and his adopted one. The Global Leadership Program focuses on criminal justice. And for the Korean officers, it's also an opportunity to live out an American dream, life as a U.S. college student. What has been your favorite part of St. Peter's?
Everything. So the food is great faculty members, great professor and staffs. I love everything.
Meanwhile, St. Peter's students can also fulfill a dream, a field trip to South Korea.
2 towers are one of the most famous towers in South Korea.
Professor Park wanted St. Peter's students to also immerse themselves in another culture. Last spring, we collaborated and took several of our students to his home country.
Because it is my native country, and I want to introduce the system of the criminal justice system in Korea. And I really want to show them the Korean tradition and the culture.
We took our curriculum outside the classroom. We covered history and religion at an 8th century Silla Dynasty temple and grotto. We covered politics and current events at the Odasan Unification Tower bordering North Korea. Look how pretty you look. More history and culture at the royal palace of the Joseon dynasty. And of course, we covered criminal justice. We got an inside tour of two of the biggest police agencies in the country. In Busan, a coastal city in southern Korea, we sat down with the police chief.
Today, we'll visit the Seoul Metropolitan Police Agency. The Seoul is the capital city in Korea, and it is huge. The city, almost like in New York City.
Then later, we met with key law enforcement figures in the capital city. According to U.S. News and World Report, South Korea is one of the top 20 places for U.S. students to study abroad, from year-long programs to high-impact short-term trips. Korea's rising popularity is due in large part to global interest in Korean culture, from K-pop to K-dramas. It was the first trip to any Asian country for our students.
The trip has been really, really awesome. It's a different experience from other countries I've been to.
I've always been fascinated with the Asian Korean culture. I'm so glad that he brought me to this trip. 안녕하세요, 여러분. Jangmin입니다.
They say the open road awaits you as long as you embark on the journey. And that's exactly the road these students are taking.
First of all, their happiness is my happiness. So I really want them to feel happy and good impression of Korea. And second, probably they can learn the different culture. And so we have some tendency, if something is different from me, then we said that is wrong or something like that. So difference is not the wrong, difference is just the difference. That's how we can cooperate with each other.
For Asian American Life, I'm Ernabelle DeMillo.
There are more than 350,000 Cambodian Americans living in the U.S. from New York to California. The Angkor Dance Troupe has been bringing the rich tradition of Cambodian culture to life for nearly 4 decades, using dance as a form of cultural preservation, empowerment, and resistance for the growing Cambodian community, making up 1/3 of the population of this historic mill town, Lowell, Massachusetts, projected to be the biggest Cambodian community in the U.S. The very existence of this dance is an act of resistance. The Angkor Dance Troupe has been teaching Cambodian performing arts in this historic mill town every Sunday for 4 decades.
And one. Okay? Hands even, hands the same, okay? The children, when they come to the dance troupe, I tell them it's all about discipline. It's all about discipline. You get up, you bend your finger, right? You make sure that the movement are perfection, right? You find that perfection in every motion. 1, 2, 3.
Chummemg Soun is the program director. His family moved to Lowell when he was 9. As he learned to speak English, he found a home at the Angkor Dance Troupe.
Then I used dance to teach me how to communicate, how to express myself.
The main purpose of Ankor Dance Troupe is to preserve the arts and keeping that going, that our next generation can appreciate and can understand and know their culture, know their history.
And part of that recent history is painful and shocking. From 1975 to 1979, the communist dictator Pol Pot led the Khmer Rouge to create an agrarian society, killing intellectuals, ethnic minorities, and political enemies. It's estimated that 2 million people, 1/4 of the population, died in the Cambodian genocide. Only 1 out of 10 artists survived.
I was 1 year old. My father was a professor in the military. And obviously, like so many other, my father was killed. And then in 1975 to 1979, we were in the labor camp, the killing fields. And because I was 1 year old at the time, I was put in the children's camp.
Bora Chiemruom says she was separated from her family for about 3 years. She's among the more than 150,000 Cambodian refugees admitted to the U.S. between 1975 and 1994. Today, she's the executive director of the Angkor Dance Troupe.
5, 6, 7, 8.
Drawn by factory jobs, thousands of Cambodian refugees settled in Lowell, including a handful of artists who preserved traditional dance in secret in the Khmer Rouge work camps. In 1986, they formed what would become the Angkor Dance Troupe. Teachers volunteered their time to ensure cultural traditions persist in a new land.
It's an act of resistance for them because they get out of the war, they come here, they still practice art. It's nonstop. Even in the war, they practice art secretly. Even in the camp, they practice art. Again, beyond the simple idea of self-expression, I keep reminding the viewer, the audience, or the student that it's because you lived through so much trauma in the past that when you're on stage, it just becomes natural because you feel everything all at once.
This year, the Angkor Dance Troupe is commemorating the 50th anniversary of the Cambodian genocide on April 17th with a series of events.
We're not just a genocide. Our people are so much more defined than that. There's beauty in who we are. There's intelligence, culture.
And a rich history that dates back for more than 10 centuries. Today, the Angkor Dance Troupe has become more of a youth service organization, providing professional dance training following the standards of Cambodia's Royal University of Fine Arts. And teachers who labored for love for years are now compensated.
We have young people who have started out as dancers, like small young children dancers. They've gone on to principal dancers. They've gone on to instructors, senior instructors, and some will be tested to certified as master teachers.
For me to dance in a partner dance that express love, that express feelings, that express anything, you have to understand each other beyond surface level to emote those feelings, to be a great dancer. It's a family.
Chummemg, who often plays the role of giant in the depictions of the Ramayana, is at home every Sunday, towering over the children who follow their footsteps.
When you hit, your hand is right here, and this hand stays either here or up here, but it has to be consistent. I tell the student, what you learn from me is this. I spend years of my life finding this, and you're gonna make it better.
For Asian American Life, I'm Rainer Ramirez.
I'm Hyoungah. Especially after COVID, we've seen a surge of interest in concepts of self-care, healthy lives, and longevity. Author Michelle Jungmin Bang says there are some radically simple practices we can incorporate into our modern lives, drawn from her Korean heritage, wisdom, and traditions.
So the book is divided in 4 parts: soil, water, sun, and care.
Michelle Jungmin Bang says these elements are a metaphor for what humans and plants both need to thrive. In her book, Sun and Ssukgat, The Korean Art of Self-Care, Wellness, and Longevity, she explores the importance of food as medicine and living sustainably, closer to nature. Ssukgat is the Korean word for the edible part of wild chrysanthemums, which are known for their healing powers.
Our body wants to help us stay alive. It's helping us to, repair and to heal, but we need to do things to help that process by eating the right foods, by going outside, taking breaks, rest. They're not radically hard things. And that is what is so radically simple about it. But we forget to do that, just like I did.
Pang's own journey to self-care and wellness began several years ago after she landed in the emergency room following a period of working around the clock to launch her social impact fashion business.
I was managing a team 24 hours across the world in different time zones. And I was so passionate about what I was doing that I actually forgot to sleep. I forgot to eat. I was just too busy, and I was running on black coffee. And, you know, in the middle of all of that success, I landed in the hospital, and the doctors later told me that after putting the camera down my throat and into my stomach, my entire gut was compromised. There was very little of my gut lining that was healthy.
She learned that gut health is the balance of bacteria in the digestive tract, or the gut microbiome. Probiotics, good bacteria, help break down food into nutrients and boost the immune system. And she learned that fermentation, like in the process of making kimchi, promotes the growth of these good bacteria. That's when she began reconnecting with the wisdom of her Korean heritage.
Fermenting is, you know, taking an active ingredient like salt, and we allow it to ferment on the cabbage over time. And that allows this wonderful ecosystem of friendly bacteria, which when we ingest it, feeds our microbiome. And you know, when you start to look at the science, it is actually all about how you balance your microbiome.
Sun and Ssukgat is filled with beautiful illustrations hand-drawn by the author and interspersed with her favorite homemade and healing recipes like 된장찌개, or fermented soybean stew, and samgyetang, or chicken soup, that her father made for her from the time she was a little girl.
It is a poached chicken, which has glutinous rice, jujubes, and ginseng inside, which is all anti-inflammatory, actually. I didn't realize it, but they're just nourishing meals that are very healing.
And Koreans eat this hot chicken soup in the height of summer.
I know, it's so unbelievable. There's this idea that it allows you to sweat, so it allows the body to cool. So it's very popular in the summertime, but my father used to make it for me all the time, all throughout the year.
To research her book, the author traveled widely in Asia and Korea, including to Naejangsan National Park, south of Seoul, to learn about temple food from Korean Buddhist nuns, and to Jeju Island to visit the Hyoungah, a community of women divers who harvest abalone, octopus, sea urchins, oysters, and all types of seafood without using oxygen masks.
I wanted to start writing the book to preserve what I saw was fading. And at the same time, I realized, wow, all of these things that we used to do are actually akin to just being more connected with the environment, with nature. And it could actually solve a lot of the problems that we're facing today.
This has been a deeply personal journey for the author. She says for the first time, she's even begun incorporating her Korean name professionally, as in Michelle Jungmin, as part of her pride and identity. I'm Kyung-Yoon for Asian American Life.
One of the hottest trends in food now is cookbook clubs, and I'm going to bring you into the kitchen of viral Cookbook Club founder Stephanie Lau.
I think the human connection of food only exists in real life. Like, we can try and experience it online, but you have to be in person to really have it.
It was that thought that inspired Stephanie Lau to start a cookbook club.
Cookbook Club is a large format potluck. Typically, the ones that I host are between 20 and 100 people. And essentially, I choose a book. I invite a bunch of people, and all of those people each choose a recipe from the book, and we all gather together and eat it.
A simple concept that's cultivated the return of the cherished cookbook that became outdated with the age of the internet.
Short form media is great for the purpose that it serves, like quick, easy recipes. But I think that a cookbook can tell a lot of stories, and having a book and using that book and I guess being able to connect with people over that book is just so much more.
A feeling that galvanized the accountant to start her own cookbook club in 2024 as a hobby out of her one-bedroom Brooklyn apartment. And it wasn't long before these small potlucks posted on TikTok went viral.
There were thousands of people asking me if they could join.
Lau had to move the club meetings to event spaces to accommodate a portion of the huge crowds who say the most nourishing thing they cook up is community.
It's such a cliche, but food can really bring people together. It's quite beautiful.
I was just looking for some more friends, to be honest, and it sounded like a great place to make community and meet people.
The concept of community also drew Lau in, spurred on by a lifelong desire to explore food.
My parents always wanted me to know how to enjoy food, so we wouldn't just go out for Cantonese food. Sometimes we would try different restaurants. I think that kind of carried on to the way that I see food. It's about learning and exploring and seeing the world through food. And I think that's part of what Cookbook Club is as well. I'm not just going to choose the same kinds of books that are available to everyone and super popular. It's not about the most viral book necessarily, but it's about what I want to explore.
That exploration has led to the appearance of several cookbook authors at Lau's events, like Peggy Lee McKinnon, author of Tender Heart, Christina Cho, author of Chinese Enough, and Stacey May Young Fong of 50 Pies, 50 States. Lau says her club is most certainly a labor of love, as she has to partner with venues to host her events.
I charge people between $5 to $15. I wouldn't really want to charge anything more because I think part of having a community event is making it accessible to those in the community. I think ideally it would be through the support of sponsors and publishers, but right now we're just breaking even.
To get cooking, visit Lau's Instagram page for more info on her cooking club or how to start your own. For Asian American Life, I'm Susan Jun.
I'm Vivian Lee. There's a place in New York City's West Village that specializes in mirror glazed desserts. The husband and wife team behind Ann Tremet Cake is banking on the joy that comes with designing something unusual, special, and scrumptious.
All the pretty girls walk like this.
Ann Tremet Cake is not only a treat to watch and to eat. Sweet dreams are made of this. Their cakes are fun to make. So says Annabelle Lee, who wasn't sure her job in finance was her real calling when her husband Pei-shin showed her a video of mirror glazing a cake.
And then I think this is something, kind of fill my heart. You pour warm glaze on top, and then because the cake is cold, and then the glaze would set right onto the cake and form a very shiny surface. You can mix different colors, you can do spider web, you can do, marble.
And you can learn yourself. Last year, Ann Tremet Cake began offering classes.
They can experience this amazing process and then create some, amazing design themselves. Not too hard to achieve, and then at the same time, the end result is very, very nice.
Ann Tremet Cake has broken into the uber competitive world of baking without any formal training, just passion. They cooked and baked at home, graduated to a ghost kitchen, then Annabelle took on the business full-time. Pei-shin is a full-time cancer researcher who immigrated from Malaysia for school. Annabelle came from China to study engineering and worked in finance. But they loved experimenting in the kitchen with techniques and flavors they grew up with.
We have coconut pandan. Pandan is it's a type of pine leaf from Asia. It has a very floral fragrance in it.
We have sweet potato, we have purple yam, and then all those are very close to our roots. Our top seller is one is the black sesame raspberry flavor. Another flavor we have is called lychee apricot.
Ann Tremet is actually a play on the French word entremet, a multi-layered glazed dessert. And Asian-influenced pastries are enjoying new fans lately. The New York Times listed 22 bakeries across the country and their pastry chefs to watch last year. Hmong, Vietnamese, Chinese, and Cambodian American pastry chefs among them.
We think we can make a difference in this ecosystem because we're from a different background, because we have the creativity, and because we have a different outlook that how a pastry store or a baking store can be.
And their advice for new entrepreneurs?
Keep learning. I think nowadays there's a lot of information that could help you to build an idea that you would want, and then that's unique to you.
For Asian American Life, I'm Vivian Lee.
And that's our show for now. If you're in the neighborhood, be sure to check out In the Manner of Magnificence. It'll be here inside the Korea Society until April 18th. And don't forget to follow us on Facebook, Instagram, and YouTube at Asian American Life. Plus, download the CUNY TV app so you can watch us on the go. I'm Ernabelle DeMillo. I'll see you next time.